I love building dioramas and scatter terrain and props for my D&D table. And with my second campaign coming up quite soon, I want to make sure that I have more of a visual aid in my campaign for both myself and the enjoyment of my players. And for that, I have started working towards having more diverse things to put on the table. And on today's episode, I want to make some really nice, really simple bookshelves, bookcases actually. Hello, all you funky people. Funky Monkey here. Welcome to today's episode. How are you? How's life treating you? I hope everything is okay. Let's start going through what you're going to need for making some bookcases and then actually start crafting them. So, as per usual, we're gonna start with some XPS foam, as you can see right here. I cut multiple shapes and sizes so I can have a multitude of bookshelves, and I've actually made five, just to see what I actually needed to craft them and how easy it is to make them. So I've started really small with this one. As you can see, quite simple, quite nice, nothing too fancy. I need to trim the edges, but I just wanted, this is a prototype, this is just a concept. Then I went with something a little bit bigger, like this one, and then this one with thinner sides, but this is, I think, a little bit too flimsy. I'm gonna see if applying a coat of Mod Podge will actually strengthen it and make it sturdier, because at this point I'm afraid it's going to break. And then I came up with this one, but as you can see it's a little bit crooked, and then I decided to go with something very imposing. For this, actually, I recommend you take one of your miniatures, the most standard sized miniature, and use it as a measuring unit. Yeah, just make sure you have a rough idea of what things will look like. And as you can see, all of them are pretty okay sized for what we are working with. But besides this, I wanted to come up with something greater, something bigger, something like mages or a wizard's personal library, or I don't know, an ancient library that my party will discover during their adventures. So I came up with something taller, something much taller. This little thing. Of course, this will also need a ladder, something to allow climbing up on it. And of course I came up with something like this, which is twice the size in width but the same height. Sorry, yeah. They are a little bit flimsy, but I'm gonna add a back part to them. Actually, I'm gonna add this thing to strengthen it and to make it, well, to finish it. I'm going to also add, of course, shelves, and I was thinking of 1 centimeter tall shelves, maybe 1 point something. I'm still thinking about that, but this is going to be, I'm not gonna say that these are the end results, but this is just for us to see what we're working towards. For this, I cut, as you can see, pieces of XPS foam. These are 10 centimeters tall, 10 centimeters tall by 1 centimeter, 1.5 centimeters, sorry. This will give me the depth that I'm looking for and the stability and sturdiness of the bookcases. And as for the top part, I'm going to do, so they are 10 by 10, and yeah, I figured that going 10 by 10, this allows me, after I make, I don't know, 4 of these or 6 of these or whatever, I can always go back and cut down some of the sides and make smaller bookcases, like this one that is 6 by, I think, also 6. So 6 by, yeah, almost 7. So as you can see, you can always cut them down and make them fit your needs, instead of having to glue them together like I did here, because I didn't have enough parts that go on top and so on and so forth. So yeah, it's better to have bigger pieces and cut them down than to actually have to glue them together. So I'm going to go for something larger, as I mentioned, 10 by 10. And when it comes to the shelves, again, 1 centimeter each, and see what happens. And with that out of the way, I'm going to start making bookshelves, and once they are done, I'm gonna start working on the books, which will take a lot of time. Okay, with everything textured, it is time to start assembling. I've textured the back and the front of this larger panel, and I'm going to use the straight edges it has as guidance to start putting everything in place. So because it's 10 by 10, I'm going to do it like this. So this will be the top part. The wider, the thicker the piece of XPS foam, the easier to get a straight angle, but get it as straight as possible and as stable as possible. Okay, so this should be all straight angles. Okay, so as you can see, this is what the big ones will look like. I'm pretty happy with what it's turning out to be. Mango saying hi and she's really hungry. Yeah, this looks actually awesome. I know that it might not be perfectly straight, but I'm not even going to concern myself with that. I'm not going for something perfectly aligned. I'm just going for yes. I'm going for the effect. Yeah, I wanted to mention this because while I was working on the books, and we're gonna get there, I realized something. Although I like to have things to scale, I like things to look proper. At the end of the day, I'm trying to sell an idea, and I believe that this is what we all are trying to do when playing TTRPGs or making dioramas. If we always stick to, especially in a fantasy setting, if we stick to scale, it might not work out as we actually envision it, because I want my players to see from across the table the grandeur of the rooms they will be walking in, the library they will be visiting or in which they will be fighting. I want them to see how large everything is. Although I will be describing everything in great detail, it's different to describe as their characters are looking up at the towering bookshelves filled to the brim with mystical knowledge, arcane knowledge. I'm trying to sell an idea, not to sell a scale. Of course, I've also made smaller bookshelves, but again, when I'm trying to describe the grandeur of things, it's easier with these kind of bookshelves. So we'll be talking about this when I actually start making the books, but until then, this is what the final product will look like. I'm gonna let this dry, take care of the rest, and then cover everything in Mod Podge. So I will fast forward until everything is done and I'm starting applying the Mod Podge. So as you can see, the bookshelves are ready. I have a very wide array of bookshelves. I have 4 large ones that will give the impression of grandeur and greatness. I have smaller ones. I've prepared a few shelves for the tavern diorama, and I didn't really care if they looked a little bit more weathered, like this one, splintered off a little bit. I wanted to give the feeling of something being more often used. I didn't go around and shape the ends of these shelves to properly fit. Again, I'm not going for that much detail. I will say though that I didn't realize this would be a little bit crooked, but again, these are small details that I can live with, and as you can see, I also tried to go with different patterns, different layouts. I'm not yet sure how I will fill all of the shelves. Perhaps I'm not gonna fill all of them. The next step is to cover everything in Mod Podge and then paint everything. Okay, so I finished covering the bookshelves in Mod Podge, and I've also gone the extra mile and added some magnets. I've added them because in the future I do want to magnetize my playing battle mats, and I want to make sure that I do this before I get to that moment and I realize that, oh, I haven't planned ahead for using magnets. And I've marked them so I know that each and every one of them is the same side up. I think this is north. I haven't checked, but it doesn't matter as long as I make sure that I stick to the colors. And now I'm gonna go ahead and paint them. Now, I was thinking of using a very cheap-ish paint because I don't want to use some premium stuff, but at the same time, so this is, as you can see, burnt umber. This is quite good. I'm gonna use this one, and perhaps I'm gonna not necessarily mix and match, but vary the color a little bit, because I do want the larger pieces of furniture, the larger bookshelves, to pop a little more. I don't know, I want them to really stand out, and for that I think I might use a copper brown or something. I don't know, I haven't decided yet. But yeah, this is the next step, painting everything. So let's go ahead and do that. Okay, so I finished the furniture part. As you can see, it's looking quite awesome, at least in my opinion. I really like the old, ancient, weird, grandma looking furniture shelves. Why I'm calling it that? Because I distinctly remember my grandmother having a large armoire of this color, this exact color. This is so weird, but I really like it. I've covered it in grunge brown and then washed everything with copper brown. And for these I just went with burnt umber and a wash of black and a little bit of burnt umber. I've applied the wash to all of the bookshelves. Now, I've also, as I mentioned previously, I've added magnets to all of the pieces of furniture. Of course, I've encountered some issues, and the most interesting issue, and the one that I did not foresee, and I should have, is that once I glue the magnets in place, things are no longer flush. So I have some pieces of furniture that are a little bit wobbly, as you can see. Not too much, but in some cases I had to add a few bits and pieces of XPS foam on the bottom, so to create a little bit more stability, as you can see. This can easily be overcome by a very simple thing, and please take this into account and apply it if you're playing around with magnets. And that thing is quite simple. Yeah, this one. This is the best example. As you can see, the bottom shelf is not completely flush against the sides. So in essence, this little bookshelf here has some, I'm gonna say, kind of legs. So it kind of has some legs, some support. This allows for enough space that can be occupied by the extra glue when putting the magnets in place. I do recommend you do this next time. I'm sure as hell going to do it the next time I play around with magnets and I'm doing some scatter pieces. So you avoid having to do this, because as you can see, I'm trying to create a little bit of a gap. I don't want them to be too tall, and everything can be circumvented by just doing this. And you don't even have to do it on the back side, you just have to do it on the sides, but it's better to do it on 3 sides. So you can see this one is quite sturdy, and even better, the magnet is still strong enough to have a proper grip. Now, with these out of the way, I have to start filling them with books. This is going to be the fun part, because I've been working on some of the books. I've struggled a little bit, as you might expect, but that's normal. But I have come up with some things and I'm gonna share them with you before I actually get started with creating the books. So, because most of the shelves are 1 centimeter deep, I have I think 1 or 2 that are 1.5 centimeters, like this one. The best idea is to cut some XPS foam strips that are less than 1 centimeter in width. Like this. As you can see, these are 0.7.5 millimeters by 0.4. When it comes to thickness, you can go wild a little bit, mix and match, so you have books of different thicknesses. But when it comes to depth, go under 1 centimeter. But not always, and not too much. You can also have a little bit of variety. The thickness is what's going to give you a lot of variety. Now, this is all swell, but I want my books to have covers, because books have covers. And I came up with a solution that's gonna take a little bit of time, but I think it's gonna work awesome because, well, I've already tried it and I know it works. This is the solution. This is a thicker paper. It's, I think, 1 thickness or 2 thicknesses above a classic printer paper sheet. And this is what it looks like. I went with this color. I generally don't know where I got these, I don't remember, but if you have access to something like this, make sure you use it. Otherwise, I've bought some little thicker sheets of paper. These are, I think, 1 unit above a classic printer sheet. Like, it came into colors, but I think I'm gonna go with the parchment color, and I'll explain why. And I also went with sacrificing a few of the sheets of paper in my black sketchbook, because this paper again is a little bit thicker than the classic sheet of paper. Why? Now, I've taken the strips of XPS foam, I've glued them down using PVA glue to one edge, close to the edge. I'm gonna leave about 0.5 millimeter there, just to have the covers jut forth a little bit, the offset, and this is the result. Okay, so this is what I end up with, or this is what we're gonna end up with. This will now be cut into pieces. Okay, with my lovely assistant here, who just wanted to say hi, let us start cutting down the books themselves. As you can see, I have an impressive number of pre-made, I don't know what to call these, but now it's time to cut them down to size. Okay, so these are all the books I've cut. As you can see, not all of them are perfect. That's the whole idea. Now, what I'm going to do with them is quite simple. I'm gonna divide them and paint them in different colors. I'm gonna go for some base colors, some reds, blues, greens, yellows, oranges, grays perhaps. Paint them, just divide them in random piles, more or less equal, say. So I'm gonna select 7 different colors and paint them. So I finished the books. As you can see, I have a nice quantity and a lovely variety of colors. I've kept some with the original off-white cover. I've kept some black just to have even more variety. So what I'm going to do now is fill the bookshelves with books, and I'm not gonna fill every single shelf. I'm gonna leave some open spaces because I want to, after I finish with the books, I want to make some scrolls, some papyri, and here and there, I don't know, maybe some other decorations. But I think that will be a topic for next episode. For now, I'm gonna stick to the books and some scrolls after I'm done with the books. So let's just get to it. Look, this looks amazing. Amazing, I love this. I'm gonna place some scrolls here when I finish them, and I'm gonna make some other decorations here worthy of a wizard's library. And yeah, look, this looks simply amazing. Okay, so after a long time, I am almost done. So this is the end result, no, almost the end result of the bookshelves. As you can see, they are looking pretty good. I've also tried to mark some of the book spines just to add a little bit more realism and to make them pop a little more, but I didn't like the end result, so I stopped doing it. So as you can see, these are not the best markings. They aren't that bad, but I feel that they are ruining the effect. When it comes to these that are kind of like in a series, it looks better, but still not the best. Here I tried the same thing, here the same thing, so yeah, I kind of gave up. But I also did something else. As you can see, I left a lot of gaps that I'm going to fill with different things. What I'm going to fill these gaps with is scrolls. So I made scrolls, and I made a lot of them. The scrolls I made are fairly simple. I just took strips of paper that I used for the dust covers of the books. It's a little bit textured, but you don't need to use something like this, just any paper that is parchment color. This saves a lot of time, so you don't have to glaze it or tint it in any way. and I just rolled it up, and after rolling it I just cut it down to size, added just a drop of glue, super glue in this case because it worked better, and voila, you have a scroll. So just a drop of super glue and that's it. So I've made multiple scrolls. Let me clear the area just a second. So I have multiple scrolls of different dimensions. I didn't want to make them all identical. I wanted to have a bit of variety. So yeah, I should have poured all of them in my hands directly. And I've also made some black ones just for added flair, and I made some bigger ones and smaller ones and thicker ones and thinner ones. A lot of scrolls. It took a little bit, I'm gonna be honest, it took a little bit. Not too much, but it's a tedious process. What I did enjoy making was some special scrolls. So I took some cocktail sticks, cut them down to size, glued them to the paper, and as you can see I made an unfurled parchment. Then I need to explain these. These are, as you can see, more ornate. This is something a little bit more awesome. This is ornate as well. I think I'm going to leave it slightly unfurled. As you can see, I have added some small beads at the end of cocktail sticks. And I've made this one that is flowing. And I was thinking of perhaps placing this in one of the bookshelves like this. That's why I tried to bend it like that, just to have it like unfurl, almost falling, but catching itself on the row below, and have it like that, just scribble something on it. And yeah, this doesn't take too long. This is tedious, but once you get the flow, it works quite quickly. So I have a massive box of goodies. But I bought an assorted bag of beads, and as you can see, these come in all shapes, sizes and colors, and I've selected a few to scatter around my bookshelves, like little vases. I don't know, these look awesome. So if you get the chance of buying such a treasure trove, go ahead and do so, because they are amazing. As you can see, you can find a lot of usage for such a collection. So yeah, I have a lot of these. I'm gonna show them off, showcase them next episode. You'll see it's gonna be worth it. But until then, I'm going to use some of these beads and scatter them all over the bookshelves, and also glue the scrolls into place. Okay, so this is where we're at. I've added some scrolls here and there in the bookshelves. Not all of them got scrolls, but those that did are looking mighty fine. I've left, as I mentioned earlier, a lot of empty spaces so I can come in with other knickknacks just to enhance the shelves even more. And I will add a few bits and pieces because I've already selected them. So look, these are looking quite nicely. The big ones as well, as I mentioned, the scroll that is unfurled. I'm going to scribble something on the scroll just to make it look more authentic. This is really awesome. And I am going to embellish everything using the beads I showed you just a few moments ago. So, okay, so in theory, all of these are done. Oh, by the way, I was thinking if you don't have access to textured, thicker paper like this one or so. Oh, by the way, yeah. I found out that it's easier to make strip of XPS foam covered in paper and then paint with whatever color you want and then cut everything to size, then first cut everything to size and then paint them. It saved me a lot of time when I needed to make some more books. But if you have access to either origami paper that, as you can see, is a little bit thicker than normal printer paper, and it comes in multiple colors, so I think this is much faster and easier than trying to paint some neutral colored paper that covers XPS foam and have it dry and cut it to size and blah blah. You can use either origami paper, this one, or simple colored paper. I have a lot of it. It's quite old. It's wrinkly. It's been sitting in the back of one of my desk drawers for years. So if you have something like this, I think this saves up so much time instead of painstakingly painting everything by hand. Now, if you don't have access to colored paper or origami paper, or it's too expensive or something like that, you can always go like this, XPS foam or cardboard, something that has a little bit of body to it, covered in simple plain white paper, and just paint it to your heart's desire. So this is it. This looks amazing. And with that, if you enjoyed this video, make sure you hit that like button, as it helps me see that it was actually helpful to you and that you found value in it. Make sure you subscribe and join this growing funky community, and also make sure you hit that bell button, as it will let you know whenever I post my next video. And if you really want to go the extra mile, make sure you share this video with somebody who wants to build dioramas but doesn't really know where to start, being them your GM, your DM, your lore keeper, light keeper, game master, pets, friends, family, grandparents, neighbors, everybody and anybody. Thank you so much for the privilege of your time. I truly hope you found some inspiration and learned something new today, and I can't wait to see you all fine people next time here on Funky Monkey MP, the place where you get your dose of miniature painting, history, trivia, world building, diorama building, and so much more. Remember, be curious, take inspiration from the past, and never stop learning and creating amazing things, whatever those are. Your mind and imagination are amazing, and don't let anybody tell you otherwise. Until next time, Mango's second name is Cherry. Have yourselves a wonderful, wonderful evening. Cheers.